Alright, so today we're going to talk about heating tiny houses, and I'm going to show you our heater that we have that's not a well-known source of heat and how that works. But let's talk about the main ways to heat tiny houses. So me and my husband have been living off-grid in a tiny house for almost 5 years now. So we have lived through feet of snow, we've lived in desert, we've lived in lots of different climates, and we've had to learn a lot of different things about living tiny. So if you guys have any specific questions about living tiny or off-grid, please leave them in the comments. We can make a video about it or answer those questions for you. So the main ways to heat a tiny house. Most people think of the small wood stoves. So you have the little mini wood stoves, and wood stoves are a great source of heat for a tiny house. I love wood stoves. You get the ambience and it's a really rich heat. It's great. We love having wood stove. But if you don't want to have to add more wood in the middle of the night, you wake up to a cold house. So it's great to have a wood stove, but you should have a backup source of heat as well. Another really common method is electric heat. So if you have a tiny house that's not off-grid, you're plugged in and have consistent power that you're not worried about, then a mini split is a great option. We have a mini split. We love mini splits. They're great for AC. However, if you're off-grid, it just pulls way too much power to run the heat. Electric heat is very inefficient and not good for living off-grid. So another third option that's very common is propane heaters. So people love propane heaters. There are some concerns about the toxins or fires, things like that, but they can be a good option for a backup source of propane heat. You can get a good wall-mounted propane heater that's going to do great. Now, we live in a converted cargo trailer, and we do not have wall room for a propane heater. We do not have any room for a wood stove, and the electric heater is just going to kill our batteries. So we went with a fourth option. Now, this is not a really common source of heat that people know about, but my husband's dad is actually a truck driver, and this is common in all big rigs. So they use what's called a forced air heater. They use a little higher quality, a name brand one like S-Bar heater. It runs off the diesel tank, and they're really great. They blow some hot air. They really blow some hot air. So we bought one off of Amazon. It was only about 200 bucks versus the name brand ones are probably like $1,000, maybe more. I'm not quite sure about that. And we've had it for 2 years. We've been using it for 2 years. It's got some wear and tear on it, but it has worked great. It keeps the whole house really warm, like really, really warm. Sometimes we have to open the windows up because it gets too hot. So they have a thermostat. You can set the thermostat, but the cheaper versions don't cut on and off versus the S-Bar heater will. So once it hits the temperature that you designate, it will lower the amount of air it's blowing, but it still stays on. So it can get kind of hot in a small area. But like I said, we just open the windows. It's a great mix, no problem. We sleep great through the night, and it really keeps the whole house hot. This is perfect if you have a small vehicle or small tiny house. So like we have a converted cargo trailer, or if you have a bus or a van. But honestly, when we move our container house out here, we're going to put this in the container house because it's just such a great, simple, easy source of heat. So I highly recommend it, especially if you need an option where you don't have any room, because you don't have to worry about it being too hot. Our dogs, for some reason, lay directly in front of whatever heater we have, even though they have lots of fur. They lay directly in front of the heater, and they can't burn themselves on this heater. It's a really simple setup versus it's like we've had some cheap propane heaters. It'll catch their hair on fire, so we don't want that. So let me show you our heater and how this works. So as you can see, it's seen better days. It has a little piece of tape on there covering a hole up, but it's been running for 2 years and a great option for us. So here is the little thermostat. Hard to see that. So it has an on button and settings, and then you can change your temperature. You can set your thermostat to what exactly you want. You can mount that on the wall too. And set timers to when it's going to turn on and off. So like I said, this thing has had some wear to it because it works great. We've used it for years and haven't had any issues. Alright guys, so don't forget to like this video, and like I said, if you have questions about what it's like living tiny, please feel free to leave those in the comments.